Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of A Seat at the Table, hosted by yours truly, Karl Singleton. Here at A Seat at the Table, we pride ourselves on bringing individuals that are decision makers and or those with connections to them to our platform so that we can ensure the community's needs are met with viable resources. Today, we are joined by a good friend of mine, a mentor, somebody I've admired from afar for years, Mr. Greg Big Blue Pierce, who is, of course, a veteran of the United States military, in particular the Marine Corps, as well as a retiree of the of the Department of Corrections. Uh, but beyond that, just a great man, a man's man, a friend, and somebody who's always been a positive addition to our community of Harrisburg, but surrounding area as well. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we talked, and everybody that knows Greg, Big Blue, always knows that he's a fun guy to be around. And somebody who's always willing to lend a helping hand and point you in the right direction. But we had a very engaging conversation, as we most of the times we do. But it led us to say, look, we always talk to each other. We know there's a mutual level of respect. We understand our young kids that are out here, some of which you've seen more times than not, not in free situations, we'll say. So first, what I'd like you to do is just introduce yourself beyond what I just said, and just talk a bit about what led you into those various roles in the military, as well as coming back to continue to be a public servant, as in the Department of Corrections.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Pierce, aka Big Blue. I'm born and raised in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I got six brothers and sisters. Married to a wonderful lady, Erin Pierce. Have four young boys, Greg, Evan, Jason, Jaron. I've been retired for 6 years from Department of Corrections. I started back my career back in 1989, went from the Department of Corrections. Before that, prior to that, 1985, I went to Marine Corps. 1985, I went to the Marine Corps. Um, had fun doing that, traveled the world, seen a lot of things. Got out of the Marine Corps, went to the Camp Hill prison after the riot, saw it burning down, so that's my next job. Went there, made sergeant in 2 years. Seen a lot of guys come through, a lot of good guys come through, change their lives around, and I always supported them.
That's right. So you said you came into Camp Hill right after the riot.
Correct.
What was that like?
It was crazy. Everybody was locked down. Inmates got treated bad. Staff got treated bad. It was quite experience. It was something that everybody couldn't work there. Everybody can't be a CO.
Right. So we were talking earlier about, and overall, just growing up in the community, and small as Harrisburg is, we were talking earlier and before about just even what you just now said. It was bad. It was bad for everybody, and everybody just can't do it. As Black men, a lot of times we say that, we do it, we keep going because that's what it's called for. But some of our younger generation, some of our older generation, was hesitant to label it how we talked, which was trauma. Right. And whether that's military, whether that is community based, whether that is work based, whatever it is, we were talking, last week about making sure exploring opportunities for helping yourself to be more, productive in society is cool, is the norm. It's not, and getting help, and so when we were sitting and having our conversations, it started, me to thinking, we both were talking about how we lost friends, not lost friends, how friends were murdered.
Correct.
And how that impacted us, how we still, two of us talked, how we still daily recover from thinking about where they could have been, where they were, and what happened,
Yes.
And then seeing other young people, in particular young Black men, out here not quite understanding what the future could hold for them, and so roles that we could play,
Correct.
As Black men in our society, in our community. So, just, like I said, this is organic. This is no question and answer.
Like for example, I love coaching football. I've coached football. I coach baseball. Coach basketball. For mainly when my kids play. Tell you the truth, be honest with you. But I enjoy being around kids. I enjoy seeing a kid coming from a different place. A lot of times, they might have no money. You give them money. You give them rides to practice. You might stop by and take them to McDonald's, things like that. Kids.
Stopgap or fill that void is something that we all know is necessary, but not a lot of us in the communities take the time to fill that gap. You were one who did, who continues to, and basically even your camaraderie with your retired, your current retired buddies,
Right.
which you for you, I'm gonna make sure you're in time for your 7 o'clock meeting as well.
Appreciate it.
That y'all continue to have this camaraderie,
Right.
but in the process is you all getting together, networking, continue to build each other up to be able to provide something for the community.
Yes.
And so that type of, where would you say you learned that from? Like, where would you say your family,
I would say probably my mom. My mom was well, actually my dad too. My dad was I always call my dad a Jamaican. He worked his butt off. He had like 7 jobs. He wouldn't stop. Like he wouldn't stop. You couldn't. He had 5th grade education. To the day he died, he worked his butt off. And I said if he could do it, I definitely could do it. So definitely my dad. He really was a role model to me. Wasn't a hands-on type dad, but as far as like seeing what it takes to get where you want to go in life, he was definitely that guy. My mom was like, my mom passed away too. They both passed away of COVID earlier this year. But my mom was like she's a type person. And she said it. If she said she wanted to do something, she did it. And that's the kind of person I try to be. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I learned basically those kind of not stop, get what you want in life from my parents.
And that we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll finish up our interview with Big Blue, Mr. Greg Pierce, here at a seat at the table. All right, and welcome back. We're here again with Mr. William Big Blue Pierce, one of the advocates in and around the Harrisburg area, retired military and from the Department of Corrections. We were talking during the commercial break. We know there's an uptick talking about health, talking about things that we are all experiencing. But you have, of course, a unique and personal story that has led to this pandemic is serious, and you know it personally. So, unfortunately, both your mother and father, passed from COVID, and this is we were asking. We were talking during the commercial break about the vaccine and the discussions around that. So, of course, my first, my condolences on camera,
Appreciate
passing of your mother and father. But we also went into talking about whether or not you had thoughts around the vaccine,
right.
And so, okay.
First of all, I think everybody should get the vaccine so we can get rid of this terrible disease. My kids got it. Evan's on his way. But it's unfortunate that my parents passed away before the vaccine was even available, because I'm quite sure if the vaccine was available prior to January when they passed away, they would have took it. I just think that every American should do their duty and get vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. I'm vaccinated. My kids are. And it's just one of those things. And two of my 4 experienced COVID. I experienced COVID. Thank God none of us hospitalized and or on the ventilator. So I'm saying all that just to say, it is definitely serious. Obviously, we don't have the false narrative of it being fake and a hoax and all that stuff anymore, obviously, which is a good thing. But we, at the same time, and we've done several panels, around the importance of having an understanding of why a lot of us in the Black community in particular is hesitant about, the relationship with the medical field and, Black and underserved communities. So just thanks for sharing that. Of course, as personal, as that was. So when we start to talk about Two Americas, which is our running theme, you and I, we had a robust conversation around that as well. So working in the prisons, uh, being in the military, playing for the Hood flag football team, the number 1 football team that was ever combined until Blue Chips came along. Anyway, but no, just understanding that community, that work, and that continuously the give back piece that you embody. What do you say when you serve your country, you work in the profession, and yet and still things still come out in balance? Living in two Americas. What does that mean to you?
I just think it exists because people don't speak up. Everything's they make things a big deal. Like people, you see something that's in a grocery store, you say it's no big deal. I'm not gonna say nothing. As long as you
Well,
don't say,
share that story. Yeah,
yeah.
share that.
So
You
as
don't
long
have to
as
say the store,
right,
but
but
yeah.
as long as you don't say nothing, then it never change. You gotta sometimes a lot of times it's a teachable moment. Just the other day, I was in a store, Giants on your deposit, uh, row 15 at 3:08 p.m. Um, and a girl took my stuff. I had like only like maybe 10 items. She took the stuff and she just threw it down and wanted me to back it up. She said 54.34 before I was even done backing it up. And then I looked at it, gave her a little crazy look. She looked at me, started helping me, assisting me in backing it up. So I walked away and I just happened to turn around and I'd seen a lady behind me who happened to be white. Uh, when she got a different experience than I got. She sat there and she backed her stuff up right where she was at, gave it to her. She handed it to her. She put it in the cart. I said, "Wow, that's a different experience."
You know what I was thinking when we first talking about this story? What I thought was she learned her lesson from you. But then,
No,
you,
no,
but
no.
then you continued the story. I'm
Correct.
telling you, when we were first talking,
Got
I
you.
was thinking, all right, okay, she blew it with you.
Right.
She learned her lesson though, because you said she, bagged up the next person who
Correct.
happens to be a Caucasian woman. And
Correct.
then what though?
And then right behind her proceeded was a black woman. She took her stuff, threw it down, let her back her stuff up, told her to pay for it, and she left. Right behind the black woman was a white man. She stopped his stuff, backed his stuff up, and gave it to him. So I said, no, 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 no. So I'm not a shy person at all. I went to the counter and I said, can I speak to a supervisor? He said, well, what's the problem? And I explained the issue. She said, well, I can show you she's not racist. I said, I never say it was racist, but you can't show me anything. I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. So as a matter of fact, let me speak to a manager. Several minutes later, manager Matt came, said, I explained the story. He says, oh, I'll take care of it. I said, okay, yeah. I walked away not feeling fulfilled. So then when I got home, I called the corporate. They finally called me back today and said it's going to be a training moment. It's a teachable moment. They're going to use that film to train her of how to be proper and respectful for everybody, for everybody the same experience. And they gave me a gift card.
And it was about, and the thing is, we can recognize and be aware that we live in two Americas. We don't have to accept that.
That's a fact.
Because something that they were willing to just talk. If you wanted to say she's racist, if you wanted to say made it about race, that's one thing. But you took it to another level and kept it business, because we don't know if she's racist or not.
Correct.
But what was undeniable from the tape was that there were four different experiences had there. So that goes back to professional service, professional competence, and as they say, customer service brings you in, customer satisfaction brings you back.
That's a fact.
And so that piece that I wanted to hone in on from that story, even me, I jumped straight to race, but I had a teachable moment when you were telling me the story, because if you'd landed on race, that would have been a whole discussion and argument. Well, she's not racist. You can't prove that, right? But you could prove that there were four different experiences.
Exactly right.
And so, that whole piece about, the experiences that we have, the environments that we choose to be in, the environments that we're placed in, those all play a part in totality to social determinants of health, to our mental capacity, all of us, white, black, brown, and so that's why I said our conversation wouldn't be, based on specific questions, because it can go any direction. It's organic in the way where, our viewers, they tune in here because we're all the same in terms of experiencing this show. We're all rookies to this. I mean, it's not like we're veterans or anything, but what I do is, as I said to you, I'm people that I have relationships with, I think bring great value, not because of positions we're in, but because we're in those positions. What I mean by that is we firmly believe that we are put in positions to empower the position and not be empowered by the position. So I thank you for your body of work, brother. both military service and state service, as well as just being a positive addition to society overall. And with that, I'll let you exit and be in time
For
with
my
time
car
to
game.
spare for your meeting. You said car game.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, my meeting.
Your
My
meeting. I
meeting.
said
My
your
meeting.
7 o'clock meeting.
I definitely appreciate you. You and your time.
I
Platform.
appreciate you. Thank you
Appreciate you.
very much.
My brother.
Always, no doubt.
All right.
And on that, we'll take a commercial break. And on the other side of this commercial, our next guest, we will be joined. Hello, 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 and welcome back. All right, now our second segment, we have the one and only Miss Lisa Lickard Ricks. And so, of course, I wouldn't even be disrespectful enough to try to say exactly what it is that you do. I will say that the first thing that attracted me to you and wanting to have you on the show was your body of work in the community around young women empowerment. Having daughters, yes, I'm biased. Love my son. Shout out to Karl. But the piece about engaging young women, oftentimes we, in particular, our young women of color, black women, brown women, are overlooked. And so, not only do you target them in a positive way, but you target with care, concern, and upliftment. And so I just wanted you to talk a bit about, your focus, your programming around that particular topic of the upliftment and empowerment of young women. And why is that important?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a CEO and founder of the Young Women's Empowerment Academy, it was important for me to be who I needed when I was younger. And so, growing up in Buffalo, New York, we had, some mentors, some programs, but it wasn't a lot to keep us focused, and it wasn't a lot that was there that could help give us the tools and resources that we need to be successful and make educated decisions for our lives. And so, being a young mom, I had my first daughter when I was 14. I had my second daughter when I was 17. So, before I had even graduated from high school, I had two children. And I just wonder, like, how different would, my life had have been, or would I had have made better decisions had I had someone that was like guiding me, along the way when it came to making some of those decisions. And so that's how the Young Women's Empowerment Academy was birthed. My daughters, who were teenagers at the time, they're 18 and 21 now, so doing very well, breaking the cycle of teen mom, teen motherhood and pregnancy. And so that was my why. And that was really why I decided to do the Young Women's Empowerment Academy, to give these girls a safe space and really just show them that they can be whoever they want to be, as long as they make good decisions for their life, as long as they never give up, as long as they continue to press forward. And so I rallied, the women in the community that are positive women, that are business owners, because I understand that it takes a village, to be that for these young girls. And so, yeah, so that's what we do. And I absolutely love it. Hands down, it's my favorite thing to do is mentor the young women in the community.
So you have a legacy of service right there in your own house with your own young ladies. And
Yes.
what are some of your aha moments like that you've gotten? So how long have you been in existence, first of all, doing
Our
this piece?
Harrisburg
Yes.
chapter has been around since July of 2017. So over 4 years now.
All right. And during those 4 years, there's enough time for you to have had at least two graduating classes, right? So how are they coming back and pouring back into the program, or how are they remaining in contact with you, giving you the encouragement to continue on? So you have another 4 years and another 4 years and another.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our girls are doing really, really well in the community. Those that are going off to college, they come back to speak to and mentor the other young ladies, and just showing them. So to me, that's important just to see the success. We connect them with business coaches. So a lot of our girls are actually entrepreneurs at a young
Great.
age. We had 16 of our young ladies who wrote their own stories and wrote and published their books in the middle of a pandemic. And so that was like something that was just amazing, an amazing accomplishment, because we're teaching them that they can begin sharing their story now and, telling their narrative and leaving their legacy from when they're no longer here. So all of those things have really like allowed me to not so much pat myself on the
No, that's
back,
no.
but
You're
you know,
allowed. You're allowed. No, that's it. You're
yeah.
allowed.
But just to be excited and happy about like the growth and what we're really doing to make an impact in the community. But yeah, I keep in touch with all my girls, like my older girls that are leaving for school. We actually just had a brunch date yesterday, where we talked about things and just had that downtime where, I could really just be there to be a listening ear for them, to talk to them, and just provide advice, as they go through things. And so,
So let me ask you this: so have any of? And I'm not saying you have to mention names or anything. Have any of them become teen moms?
yes,
And how's that
there's
experience? Yeah.
yeah. So it's like two girls in the program that actually came to our program
Okay.
already there. And so we just provided a support to them because that's something else that I was passionate about is being a support for girls, and teen
Hmm.
moms that were going through that. Because again, I didn't have all those resources. I didn't have all of that support when I was going through that situation. But my primary focus, I wanted to be more proactive to make sure that we had girls in the community that didn't have to experience that if we could prevent that, but also being a support for those girls, those moms, just assisting them and letting them know that you can still make it.
That's
Like
right.
it doesn't matter. I had two children before I graduated from high school. I still graduated with honors. I went on to get my bachelor's degree, graduated summa cum laude. I got my master's degree. And so you could just keep going. You just can't give up.
Right. And so, and I asked that question, and like I said, I'm intrigued. My mom and dad had me at 16, and as I and there's choices that could have been made, and I'm reminded of that not only every year, but I remind myself intentionally to remain focused, and being thankful. I know you're a woman of faith as well, having faith and courage in that order, because I was born January 22nd, 1973, the same day abortion was legalized.
Wow.
So, some people just go by their birthdays, but I take that serious, especially thinking about what could have been,
Mhm.
if not for, the grace of God and having favor, even
Amen.
before I was here,
Amen.
him looking out for me. And so I say all that just to say, the programs that you continue to run, the the resources you continue to provide are definitely viable, hence why you're here, viable resources to fill a need in our community. So that's just kudos. And so there's nothing wrong with you, giving yourself a pat on the back. Encourage yourself even if nobody else is, which there are plenty of people that are. Um, so we see that we talk about a reoccurring thing that we continue to talk about is living in two Americas. And so it can go off in different ways, but dealing with young women, um, as a female in a male dominated I guess, male dominated world, what are some of the things that you're grappling with regards to your young women, not only the ones in your house, or that you've birthed, but those that you are interacting with daily to prepare them for the realities of this sometimes cruel world, living in two Americas as a black woman or a woman of color in particular, being out here under these current social dynamics. How are you arming them?
So I think again, it's just giving them all the tools and resources that they need to be successful. So when the cards, or the deck is already stacked
Mm,
against you, you want to make sure that you show up, in the best way that you know how and that you can. So if that means, getting a good education, if that means creating multiple streams of income so that you can be a business owner and a career person, whatever that means, you write your own narrative. You dictate your own life and what that means for you. And that's one thing that I'm grateful that God has allowed me to do, to be a trailblazer. So even in my career, in the financial services industry, a lot of that is male dominated. And, to be able to be the first woman partner,
I was
in
leading
the
to that. Let's give
history,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
let's give it.
in the
Pat,
history of the
that's yeah,
Harrisburg GO, which has been
yeah.
around for 70 plus years.
Right.
So right now I'm an associate partner. I'm in a
Mhm.
program, and in less than 6 months, I'll officially move into my partner
So we
role.
need her back as a partner, making sure that there's no hiccups. We'll be watching, and we want to make
Yes,
sure she ends this program as a partner.
yes. And so just showing them those things, just stepping out to show them like you can do it, even if you have to be the first one to do it, it can be done. And that's just what I like to, live my life as a testimony that you can do and be anything that you want to be if you just have a made up mind, if you don't give up and you just keep pressing.
Okay. And you talked about, and so it's a Fortune 100 company.
Yes.
For those who don't know what that means, what does that entail in terms of, where you are? And what is it? What are you doing specifically?
Oh yeah. So I actually for the last 2+ years, I have had the privilege of helping people not only build a solid foundation, but also learn how to build generational wealth for their families, to learn how to leave a legacy, to learn how to, not just focus on today, but something that will outlive you when you're no longer here, where you can even tell your money what you want it to do, when you're no longer here. And so those are the things that I love to do. And we also incorporate that in the Young Women's Program where we teach them about financial literacy at a young age. And so that's what I've been doing over the last 2 years. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of families, put millions of dollars, back into the community, and just, help protect the lives of those and the things that we work really hard to obtain. And then now I have shifted from, working with families individually to now being able and being in a position to hire a team of financial services professionals that can go out and help educate and empower our community when it comes to finances.
And that's the empowerment. That's the power.
Yeah.
That something that you touched on was, even if you're not around, being able to tell your money what to do.
Yeah.
And so that is truly, the generational wealth piece that we need to get more entrenched in. That is the generational wealth piece that we need to let our kids know that it is the norm. Our younger generations know that it is the norm. And before we know it, we need to make sure that we have our own businesses so that we're truly engaged with that 1.3 trillion, 1.3 billion annual spend that is attributed to us, in terms of making sure, to your point, that we are truly circulating it and reinvesting it in the communities that we care about and that we contact. So I love that story. Of course, I can do a better job myself with regards to help along that financial literacy piece. But I'm glad that we have contacts like you in the community. I'm glad that you are accessible and open and honest and somebody that we can touch, And so that is huge for us here in terms of this platform. We need to make sure that we continue to have you engaged. And so, at this point, I just want to say thank you. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll tie in on the other end. Any closing remarks from you? Again, we are joined here by Ms. Lisa Ricks, financial guru, I'm going to say, here that we can all touch here in Central Pennsylvania. And this is her first time, but not her last time, as a guest here at Seat at the Table. Thank you. Okay, and again, we were back with Mrs. Lisa Ricks. And so we were talking during the commercial break about financial literacy, and for a lot of people, that's a buzzword. So what I would like to do now is delve down a little further into it, in terms of what does being financially literate mean to you? What do you hope to see once you're done with the seminar or done with the segment with our young girls, young ladies, or women ever overall in your empowerment program? What does that mean to you?
So for me, it means not only just receiving the information and the knowledge, but applying it. Because they say knowledge is power, but it's really the applied knowledge. So, you can know what to do and all of that and have all the knowledge and wisdom, but if you're not actually using it or applying it to your life, then, how successful will you really be, or how much impact will you really make? So for me, our organization, we have a slogan called "It's the generational wealth for me." And what that means is that it's not, the generational wealth isn't so much about the money. Like, money is just a tool that's going to get us to where we need to be. But what are you educating yourself on? What are you educating your children on, so that those cycles of generational poverty that has been plaguing our communities are broken and don't continue to perpetuate themselves? And so that's really what we focus on. We focus on the knowledge and making sure people have it, and then also how they can apply that to their lives.
And so when you say you partner up, have mentors, where some of the mentors come from? Because a lot of times when you hear financial literacy, the at least mine, I shouldn't say you,
Mhm.
but the assumption that I've had historically, before I learned more, was that when you say financial literacy, he or she, in this case, she, with your group, your organization, will be talking to bankers or people that was around, just the banking industry. You can be financially literate from other professionals as well. So, who are some of the mentors that you are pairing them up with, not by name, but in what spaces are you pairing up your young people with?
So our girls actually are privileged to be able to have access to a ton of women, not only just in the financial literacy space, but if we have girls that want to be doctors or lawyers or nurses, like we have somebody that we can pair them with, because of the amazing women that we have in the community that are doing things. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of a movement called Dream Catchers, which is all about women in finance. So I started a local chapter here about 4 years ago. And we started meeting once a month and began to learn everything that we needed to know about finances, from budgeting and savings, investing, home buying, like you name it. We had experts and speakers coming in to teach us. And then those same women then became mentors to my young girls in the Young Women's Empowerment Academy, to teach them about finances and literacy. And we're all learning and growing together. That's one thing that I think is important. And that's one thing that I teach my girls. It's in our vows that we vow to always remain teachable, because you have to be willing to learn and to grow in order to continue to progress in life. If you closed off, or you think you know everything, or somebody can't teach you something, you're not going to go really that far. And so those are just some things that we instill in our girls.
Okay. So when they leave you, they're never really gone, I'm sure.
Right. No,
But
they
when
come
they
back
when they
semester to semester, come back and be
yeah.
mentors.
So when they're ascending to the next level, we'll say, what are some of the things you hope they leave that particular phase with and grow into the next, whether that is college or some type of post secondary education opportunity, even or workforce. So how do you want your young ladies to be viewed, and how are they viewed when they're taking your program on the road, so to speak? What do you want them to leave with?
So, our four pillars to our academy is education, entrepreneurship, service, and influence. So, of course, we, encourage them to do well in school, get an education, all of those things. We also allow them to tap into entrepreneurship, to have that additional, thing to look forward to. When it comes to service and influence, we are really heavily active in our community. I believe it's so important to give back. So that's part of their requirements to graduate per semester, is to do their community service. And then when it comes to the influence, we don't only just want to show our girls, and teach them to be passionate about something, whether that's bullying or human trafficking, or, all of these different things. We want to teach them how to empower their generation and others to believe in that thing too. So that's where the influence part comes in at, is we teach them how to, make t-shirt campaigns, how to rally walks around things, or, whatever that may look like, depending on what topic, is important to them. In addition to that, leadership is really, really important, when it comes to that. So we actually partnered with Brian Majors with his leadership curriculum that he has, to just continue to, talk about leadership to our girls, talk about entrepreneurship, and really make sure that that's what they're known for, that they're not followers, after other
Mm.
people in the community, but that they can lead the way, they can be trailblazers, and they can do whatever it is that they put their mind to. They don't have to follow the crowd if the crowd is going the wrong way. Like,
Sound like you're creating uh, uh, young, current, and future activists, which is
yes,
a great thing.
yes,
So that accountability piece, making sure they're properly positioned to hold people accountable, leaders and themselves. at the same time. So that's very, very respectful. And I'm sure people have told you they admire you and the body work that you're doing. If people want to get involved with you to assist, to help, and or if there's some young ladies out there that are looking, now, how do they get in touch with you? Website, contact information that you might have.
Absolutely. We're actually starting a new semester.
Okay.
So, we're off for the summer. We have different things going on, but we have a new semester that kicks off in September. So, we are accepting new girls into the program or our returning students coming up. They can enroll on our website. So, that's www.yweacademy.com. We're also looking for volunteers. So, volunteers can register on our website as well. We do have our own merchandise that our girls have developed and worked really, really hard. We actually just released our Empowered Girl Journal for girls that are interested in that. So you can also go on our website to
So what
purchase
is
some
that about?
merchandise.
Empower Girls Journal. What is that?
Yeah, so we created a 67-day guided journal to help girls really tap into that space where they feel free to be able to write and to, share and whatever that looks like. So it's an amazing journal that we put together. It has like some amazing pictures that they can color and, really just guide them on storytelling and telling their own story. So it's been really, really good.
So that sounds like we're going to have a lot. We have a segment that we do called Black Excellence Beyond February, 24/7, 365. Sound like we're going to have a lot of future names to be added to this list that we're getting ready to show when we go into our next commercial break. But are there any specifics that are requirements that young ladies need to have to be accepted into the program or the empowerment group? Or is everybody that signed up welcome to come in? Or what are some prerequisites, some qualifiers, if
So
any, if any?
right. We don't turn any girls away. So we want to help as many girls as possible. We do have chapters here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We have chapters in Buffalo, New York at the Freedom Center, which is where I was born and raised. We have a chapter in Lynchburg, Virginia, and we're also opening some other chapters coming up this fall. I haven't
Okay.
initially
Yeah,
officially
okay.
announced the cities yet,
You
but
can do it here
we
first, though. We
do.
like to be first.
Well, the next one that we're looking at doing is Rochester, New York. So we
Okay.
have amazing support out there, and they want to bring our program there as well. And so, um, to answer your questions, not so much like prerequisites to get into the program, but when they are there, we do ask them for a commitment. We do ask the parents also to give a commitment to make sure that the girls are successful in our program. So we have our vows. We have requirements of how many classes they have to attend, how many hours of community service they have to do, and just really making sure that they're being a part of the program so that they get the most out of it.
Okay. And she keeps mentioning this place called New York, but I told her she ate some Middlesworth chips, so she's Pennsylvania's now. So no, but, I just really appreciate you taking the time. Any closing remarks?
Thank you so much for having me and for the
We've been trying to
opportunity to
work
be
this out for a
here.
while,
I
but I'm
know
glad
it
we
has
finally
been a
got
while,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
But it's just been a blessing, and I'm just honored to be able to be a resource for the community, for moms, for young girls, for anyone interested in getting into the
Dads.
financial dads too.
Okay, we
But
got
my
daughters.
husband got the dads.
I was saying,
My
yeah,
husband, yeah, he's amazing. He has the Fatherhood Academy. He worked with Mr. Gadsden. They're about to start the Young
Oh, I
Boys
saw. Yeah. I didn't know that was
program.
your. Oh,
Yeah, that's my
duh.
husband.
I had
And
Mr.
so,
Gaston on a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
yep,
Mr.
yep. So they
Yeah.
got the men.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's what I'm here to do. And anybody that's interested in getting into the financial industry
Mhm.
as far as a career and to be able to make impact, that's where I'm focusing right now.
And I know that's something that we're going to be doing here at the studio as well. So maybe have you come back on and speak with more specificity to that particular area, that financial literacy beyond just the buzzword, but delving down into it and what it really means, talking about. And I'm telling you that that's seared in my memory at this point when you talk about how to be in a position to tell your money what to do, even when you're not around.
Yeah.
And that's key. And I don't mean death. I mean you just making sure your money's doing what it needs to do your direction, even if you're not there at the table at that particular time. So that is empowering and very. So again, excellence beyond February, 24/7, 365 days. And our sponsor, of course, is Mid Penn Bank. We'll see you on the other side of this commercial. Hello and welcome back again. We are into our next episode with the one and only Beyond, and this is what I love about Garry Gilliam. He talked about every time that I see him, he talks about I could easily come back home and do a football camp. I could easily come back home and talk about, sports and, going through surgeries and this, that, and the other. He's like, but everybody's doing that, or those that have been through injuries and have overcome that injury and or injuries as collegiate and professional athletes. They take that which they know, that familiarity, and they run with it. And that, from my perspective, which I respect about you amongst many things, is that is not the path you chose. You reminded me the other day how when we were doing a tour, how you would talk in the hot tub and have on the headphones and say, "Hey, when's the last time you talked about financial literacy? You talked about this, that, and the other." They go, "Oh, here he goes with that again."
Yeah.
But coming back home, you chose to beyond a football camp. You chose to go beyond just that pigeonhole athletic football, basketball mindset that a lot of times we sell our kids. This is your only way out. You chose to tell them, to show them that you can be productive members of your society, of your community in particular, but through the financial side and building it up and economic development. What that really means to be empowered by your mind and to make sure that you are serving in the process of doing what it is that you love to do. So with that, there's a long-winded introduction of a young man I have great admiration for, the CEO of The Bridge. And I'll let you take it from there, Mr. Gilliam.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And so you hit it. And I don't think, it has to be either or, right? Which I think is one of my main mantras is you don't just have to be an athlete or what's your backup plan or what are you going to do in academics. Like the same attributes that make you a successful athlete are the same attributes that make you successful in any other things. So don't just think that that's all you can do. Or if you can't do athletics, don't think that that's the only way, quote unquote, out. And it's important for that message to be sent by those who have made it out, right? Athletes have platforms. We have social capital that we can throw around and move people to do things. And holding a football camp, in my opinion, just reinforces that cultural indoctrination of the mind that that's the only way for us to make it out of these situations. And that's not true. And moreover, that's not sustainable, right? Athletes, entertainers, drug dealers, right? Drug dealers are locked up or killed. Most rappers, entertainers really don't have that much money. And 88% of NFL players, 88% are bankrupt within just 2 years of being done. So not only do you have a very small chance of making it, at that level, but then you have a very high chance of actually not coming out of it with the capital you thought you would. So all the effort that your family put in, all the time that you put in, the support you had, your entire life, put into that one thing that your city thought, athletics is the only thing that we got to get you into. So they did everything they could to make sure you got there. And you got there and then didn't have it, within 2 years of being done and didn't do anything with what you got. About athletics. And then to your point, when I would ask guys, hey, bro, let's go home and hold a financial literacy seminar or a STEAM camp, the answer is, well, I know how to play football. Right? I'm really good at that. Like I have a financial advisor. I don't even pay my own bills, right? So how could I possibly go home and talk about those things to my community? I'm not educated myself, and therein lies the issue, right? Like, you conceded to shut up and dribble. You think that the only thing that you should ever be focused on is sports, whether you're doing the sport or not, right? Because when I do ask you in the hot tub, hey, bro, what is the last new thing you learned not related to athletics, and you stall at the same time of having that phone in your hand? That if our ancestors had that phone and could do what we could do and talking to people around the world and ask it a question and it can answer you, controlling lights and sound, like, you'd be killed. I think you were, a wizard or god or something, like crazy. Like, use that phone. It has information. Like, learn something. Like, don't just be an athlete. You have the skills, the talent to be the top in what you are doing. So do more in some other areas. And it's not a backup plan. It's not a transition out of. It's in accordance with. It's every fiber of your being, because the way you do one thing is the way you do all things.
And that was, when you touched on making sure you literally leave an impact in your community, you chose to go the economic development route. You chose Harrisburg, your hometown, to be the first impact project for a broader, quite national and or global set of plans. Talk about why. Talk about what that means to you to be able to be in this position now. Again, utilizing your platform and your microphone as an athlete that reached the highest, the pinnacle. With regards to being the Super Bowl champ, and of course the body work it took to get there. Everybody kind of overlooks that and forgets that part. But you made a conscious decision not to just do football, not to just be the athlete, but to be a community builder, in that you're going to make sure there's an impact project. Let's talk about the impact project.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Crabs in a barrel, right? We hear that term and that phrase often. And you could say that, an athlete or an entertainer or whatever getting out of a situation would be a crab that got out of the barrel. So then people are like, well, the crabs that got out, why don't they ever, come back with a ladder? Well, you would think that the bridge would be that ladder, but I'd look at it differently, right? To me, the crabs don't belong in that barrel in the first place, right? That's the problem. The barrel is the problem. Crabs belong in the ocean. The barrel is a system that needs to be dismantled, right? So even if you do bring a ladder back, then the crab's going to crawl up the ladder? No, they're going to continue to pull each other down the ladder too. We got to break the system so they realize that they're where they need to be. The environment is proper for them. So that's really what the bridge is. My contribution back to my community is exactly that. There's still a barrel around Harrisburg, around a lot of inner cities. And from leaving that quote unquote barrel, seeing what the world does have to offer and what it takes to get there, my city has everything that it takes to be there, but they don't have the resources and the opportunity to develop that, right? The barrel is in the way. So forget a ladder. We got to come take out the whole system, right? And that system is oppression. There's a lot of things that feed into that. Our graduation rates, it being a food desert, cancer rates, like a lot of stuff feeds into that. And it's just perpetually going on and on and on. There's that system in the back of America, if you will, that's just constantly churning. And you have to combat that with another system. But in order to do that, you first got to unlearn this oppressive thoughts, right? This reliance on somebody else. We need to push self-sufficiency in all sectors, right? That's work, eat, live, learn, and play, right? Building businesses, controlling our food, building homes, investing in real estate, controlling our education, and certainly taking care of our mental health.
And with this, so your project, the community, the bridge, the eco village. Let's talk about that. You touched on it, live, work, eat, play. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the Bridge Eco Village, the bridge itself is actually comprised of a bunch of different entities. There is our real estate development company, specifically here in Harrisburg, the Bridge Harrisburg. Then we've also got a nonprofit called Empower at the Bridge Foundation, which majors in education and developmental programming that goes on within the spaces that our development company creates. And then the third entity is actually a consulting company called The Branch, that allows us to take our team that we brought together, our expertise, and then really bring those nutrients, if you will, through bridges and other locations. So that's The Branch. So what The Bridge is our mission, or what we do as a development company, is to acquire schools, malls, warehouses, just land itself, and we convert them into mixed-use developments that we call eco villages. And that's, as I stated, is it just creates a space essentially for the community to come work, eat, live, learn, and play. And at some point in your day, you're doing one of those 5 things. So the most sustainable thing for you to do is to really do them in one place, right? So those workspaces, again, that's for the entrepreneurs. That's that central hub for them to come and work together, create products, business plans, that co-working spaces, maker spaces, that eat branch, restaurants, retail spaces on site. But then also, in order to really combat the food localization, food security issues, food apartheid, right? Let's be honest. We need to grow and control the entire process of our food, right? And do it sustainably and do it year round, because we need food in December too. And us transporting and importing our food is not beneficial for financials, and definitely not beneficial for the amount of nutrients that we get from that food. So the more local we can grow our food, better for our pockets, and the more local we can grow our food, better for our bodies. So growing food with aeroponics and hydroponics allows us to fully control that environment year round. So that's work and eat. Live is housing, right? If you're going to provide all these programs and access to these things, we got to live in those spaces. That makes it a lot easier to get to those areas and use those things. And at the most basic form of our human needs, we need shelter. So providing shelter is extremely important, but not just for low income individuals, and not just for luxury upper class individuals, right? Both are together. All socioeconomic statuses have homes at the bridge. So that's Live. Learn is our nonprofit, right? Which is the educational component. It's not just enough to build these physical spaces, but how are we going to utilize them? How are we going to show the community the most self-sufficient ways to use these spaces so they can then grow their community outside of each bridge location, right? So learn to work, learn to eat, learn to live, learn and learn to play. So learn to work is not just the co-working spaces, but the incubation and the acceleration programs within those spaces, so that those startups and entrepreneurs can slowly but strategically start to bridge the gap of executive representation of our top companies, not just here in Dauphin County, but in the country. Right? The top 50 companies here in Dauphin County, not one has a Black CEO. Is it just us to rely on those companies, though, to hire minority individuals? I don't even like that term. Or do we support those companies? Help them catch up in this race that we're, 4, 5, 10, 15 laps behind, right? We need a chariot. Yeah. So that's part of that, the learn to work. So again, not just building the spaces, but providing the programs within the spaces so that the community knows how to become self-sufficient. Another example, learn to eat, not just enough to grow food, but will teach you how to grow your own food. And then also explain to you the importance of a plant-based diet. We hear about COVID and these pre-existing health conditions, right? Heart disease, diabetes, and cancer are rampant, not just in America, but most specifically in the Black community. And it's directly correlated to what we put in our mouths culturally, right? But if you want to push eating more plants and preparing food a proper way, but there's no access to those things, then it falls on deaf ears, right? All these things, all these issues, the root causes of a lot of these issues are connected, holistically connected, right? That's why it's called systemic oppression. So what we've done is with these spaces and these programs we put together, work, eat, live, learn, play areas. Those are entertainment spaces, outlets, batting cages, rock climbing, concerts, the like. And then learn to play would be the correlation between mental health and physical health, right? We live in traumatic areas and have gone through traumatic things. We got to address that. And bro, you got to talk to somebody. Like we got to normalize therapy, and then show you how to properly outlet that. Like, don't keep it in. We'll show you, bro, go hit a baseball. Like let that out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's all right. So what we've done then, again, with these physical spaces, these schools that are readily available, right? There's a few obviously here in Harrisburg. There's abandoned schools across the Rust Belt, across the nation. malls are becoming readily available, especially after the continued demise of retail through 2020 and COVID, and e-commerce. So that doesn't mean that these buildings are going to just get knocked down. In most cases, they're owned by, municipalities, land banks, developers, or school districts that don't just want developers to come in and build, a bunch of low-income homes or senior housing, right? Nothing wrong with those things, but with the location of these properties, they yield an opportunity to really spur economic restoration, right? Economic restoration should be the objective. And I think cities realize that with their comprehensive plans too. So that allows us then to scoop up these properties, for lower than what they're normally being sold for because of the value that it would bring back once it's developed into a bridge location. So as we continue to do what we're going to do here in Harrisburg, it does, and it has yielded opportunities in other cities across the nation and the world at this point, to bring this model in there and replicate it, and really do well while we do good, right?
And that's why I wanted you here. And people probably like, well, he's just talking. I wanted them to hear what I heard firsthand. Again, during the tour, because I had an idea, because I've been through, several events with you, with the bridge, and others, but it was something different by actually taking the tour. Uh, it was something different by having potential funders there on the tour. It's definitely your story with you and your mom was definitely, the one. Which you got to take the tour to hear the story. So I'm gonna leave that out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll take a quick commercial break, and then on the other side of this, we'll continue our conversation with Mr. Garry Gilliam, CEO of the Bridge. All right, and again, we're back with Mr. Garry Gilliam again here, the CEO of the Bridge program. We failed to give how people who might want to get involved, that are interested in learning more about the bridge, more willing and able bodies to come volunteer, get the word out, know where you have applications in for funding, and for us to basically campaign, to your benefit, to the benefit of the community, your benefit, our benefit, the collective benefit of ensuring that a project like this goes through. So first, website or contact information.
Yeah. Well, website's pretty easy. It's just thebridge.com. Right. So go in there, thebridge.com. And if you're interested in volunteering, you'll see a volunteer tab. So click that. That'll pop up a form, fill that form out, and that'll go right into our log. So when we have volunteer days, we can reach out to you. As of now, the only money that's being taken into the Bridge Initiative officially is our donations, right? So go to our nonprofits website, which is empoweratthebridge.org. And you can find that donate button there. Click it, check it out, donate what you can. If you are able-bodied, right, we have a few different initiatives that'll be coming up, things to empower Harrisburg, beautify Harrisburg, financial education, financial wellness, if you will, all those things. So if you've got expertise in those areas, right, and you'd like to contribute your knowledge, some of the information you have to those who don't have it and don't normally have it, then certainly also reach out. And that there's a contact form on our page as well. So you could just go there, fill out that, and that goes straight to our email, and we'll get that and be able to communicate with you. And then in terms of investment opportunities, right, you'll see that information coming out here shortly. So best thing you could do is to go to our website, thebridge.com, subscribe, so you get added to that list. And then as those investment opportunities come out for unaccredited and accredited investors, you'll see those. That's where you'll have that opportunity to get involved there.
Okay. And, on that, we were on the tour, and we had a particular agency from the state where you have a grant application in. So let's talk about that tour and how it led up to, that agency.
Oh, yeah.
On the agency, et cetera.
Yeah. So one of many grants that we are applying for is the RACP, which is a Pennsylvania state agency or Pennsylvania state grant, a matching grant. You apply for the grant and they award you it, and you match it with that amount of money and then move forward with your development. Now, where that public side of that match comes from, this public-private partnership within this grant, comes from a few different entities within the state, right? So about a month ago at this point, we're at the Capitol, talking to the Democrats and the Republicans, the representatives, the senators, about this specific development here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, as really a legacy project, and one that will be a catalyst for true economic development, which then leads me to another entity that kind of determines where that money how that money gets dispersed across the state, which is the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. So they were actually there on site. It was one of a few tours that they've had now of walking through, and a few of their different executives to talk about different ways that we can get involved, or they can get involved, in our different phases, our different sectors, possibly not just here for this location in Harrisburg, but as we continue to grow, which is major. It shows that there is a need for what we're bringing, right? If COVID and 2020 were the flood, I'd say that's the flood that lifted the arc of the bridge, right? And there is a saying that says, a flood, what is it? A rising tide lifts all ships. Well, you got to have a ship, right? So let's have a ship. Let's build ships out of our ship. So as the equity of Harrisburg continues to go up, as we do spur this economic revolution, we all have an opportunity to be involved with that, and that takes public and private. So that's what we've been doing. That's what the tour was to walk through the site, to show them the vision, to show that the project is shovel ready, and that we should be starting construction here shortly, and that their aid will be really a catalyst to continue to move the project forward. And they saw the need for it, obviously, here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And then what's most important is they saw that we're providing a solution for a lot of the needs across the state. So looking to move forward, and as long as we see checks come into the development of the project, then we know that our efforts are not for naught, and that we're moving forward the way we need to move forward as a society. Because these types of projects are ones that, like I said, are true catalysts of economic restoration in a community. So if the private side is going to come to the table, the public side certainly does as well. So that's there's an opportunity.
That during that tour, one of the things that stood out to me was when one of the gentlemen clearly stated, when you mentioned the fact that whether it's Washington State or other areas outside of Pennsylvania, Cleveland, et cetera, is looking to duplicate something that you haven't even started here in your hometown, which is where you want to start it. Their whole focus was, and we're trying to get them to stay here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And so that tells me that there's a level of interest. Again, Harrisburg, it's our opportunity again to be a leader. And as I always say, as the capital city of the Keystone State, we unlock the potential for the rest of the nation. And that's my, that's my firm belief in everything that I say and do regarding, community involvement or leadership or the overall diversity coalition. But it has to start with the capital of the Keystone State. And newsflash, that's Harrisburg. I won't even mention those other fictitious answers. It is Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And so I say all that to say, I believe they want it. I believe, we show more community input. One of the reasons why you're here, amongst many, is, you're from the city, graduate of Milton Hershey, from the city, back trying to give back to the city, so not only stymie and stem, but to eradicate generational poverty and increase equitable access to generational wealth. And I keep going back to one of our earlier guests said, Ms. Lisa Lickers Ricks, how she talked about making sure we're in a position where when we're not even around, we can still direct our money to do what we wanted it to do.
Oh yeah.
And so talk about that piece for you.
Oh, well, that's making money while you sleep, right? Like going out and playing football hurts. Like it's fun, no doubt, right? But like it hurts. So if you can figure out ways to use that tool, because that's what money is a tool. Go out, send that money out, let it come back with some friends now, right? But do it in the proper way, right? Don't just be investing in your boy's company because he's starting a barbershop or something. Like, nah, bro, I'm gonna need you to sit down, show me the pro forma, what's the income, the expense, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah. But in order for you to even be an astute investor, it takes financial literacy, financial wellness. So athlete, you still need to educate yourself, because now you've got a lot of tools, a lot of resources to be able to replicate, do things with. But if you don't do it properly, as hard as you've worked for that money, this is what I was told, there are people out there working 3 times as hard to take it from you. So if you don't realize ways to park it into assets, assets that cover the liabilities, right? That you want, the cars, the parties, the boats, right? The flights, the nights out, by all means, right? Enjoy your hard work. I'm not going to tell you not to, but cover it with an asset, right? An asset meaning real estate that's appreciating, or bringing in some rental income or something like that, right? Or you have a brand, right? Athlete, especially these college athletes now with the NIL.
I was going to say, how jealous are you with that? That's what I was leading into that one.
Like,
go ahead. Yeah.
Use that. Like, that's important. But know that you're going to be used as a tool if you don't know how to utilize the tools you've been given. You will be used as a tool if you don't know how to utilize the tools you've been given.
So I think you just nailed something that we could do. That whole piece about branding, and now, and especially with the opportunities that weren't there when you were. I mean, they probably wouldn't have gave me no money anyway if I'd tried to brand my name when I was playing. But at least that weren't there, before. Those opportunities were not there before. But now these athletes that are coming in, to these situations where they can start making sure that there's truly setting up a foundation of financial freedom. What would you do? So there's a question.
Yeah.
You're leaving Milton. Well, we're going to really dream here.
Okay.
You're just graduating with honors.
Yep.
From Harrisburg High.
Okay.
And you have this opportunity to go to South Carolina State.
Okay.
How do you see yourself benefiting from this new opportunity?
Yeah.
You land in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Lining up, of course, football academics and all that, but you are at the mindset that now I have this opportunity to engage on this new available cash out there. How do you do it?
You look to control as much as you can.
Okay.
Right. So if somebody wants to go out there and buy my jersey, well, no, look, I have my own merchandise store where I have a mock-up that looks fairly similar, right? But it's got my logo on it and my signature on it. You can buy it from me. Right? Don't buy it from NCAA or any of those. You buy it from me. I started to get my brand out there, my logo's out there, who I am. And then you realize, okay, much earlier in your career that this is a business. You are a business, right? I'm a businessman. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this is the second time we got that.
A business.
Shout out to Judge Royce Moores from 2 weeks ago. He's quoting Hove too. Go ahead.
Big facts. It's and that's now starting even sooner. Like, you're no longer an amateur. Like, paid, you are a professional. You look at yourself as such. So branding yourself, right? Get out there, put out content where you'll show yourself working out and you wearing your stuff, and like, do swipe ups. Like, you don't have to be running that. You could have your family running that on the back end, and now you can create jobs for them. Like, just the things you would have been doing 4 years later in the NFL, you now get to do in college, which I think is huge. But if you don't have the financial wellness, the financial literacy, the guidance, the mentorship, the ability to execute, then for not, what are you going to do with it? I mean, they're going to take the tools that you got. They're going to manage you. They're going to, make you sign this memorabilia contract thing and then exploit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to be managed. Like, who's going to negotiate a contract better for you than mom or dad? So have them part of that marketing team, that branding team, right? That merch team, right? That's where I go. And then there could be other big things. You build up a big enough brand on a YouTube because you're just recording what you do on a day-to-day basis. Now you've got sponsorships coming up, like major sponsorships on your YouTube channel, or like somebody like Spotify comes in because you have a podcast or something that you do on the daily because you're building your personal brand, right? And in alignment with who you are as an athlete, because that's what people really care about, right? They can see us on Sundays and on Saturdays and on Fridays, but they don't get to see us on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You give access to that. You have an opportunity now as a collegiate athlete to monetize that. I'm telling you, man, those college fans are crazy. So that's what I would do. I would start to build up my personal brand and make sure I have means of monetization off of my own name. Because you can.
When you say those college fans are crazy, you mean they spend crazy dough.
Crazy committed, like extremely loyal too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the players are who makes up, like, they're buying jerseys because they're supporting you. So you got to be, as Nip said, proud to pay. Yeah. So my t-shirt costs $100 because you are one of 1,000 that has this. come on now, people buying that. And then I don't even get into the NFT world, the digital side of it, the e-commerce, but we'll stop there, right? That's what you can do. But again, if you don't got the information from the people who have it, you can't bring it to the people who got it. Those athletes don't know how to monetize that or do anything. They'll be out there, I can sign an autograph and get paid for it now. Like, bro, we got to go beyond that. Right. Like, let's scale this thing. Let's make it so you're not working so hard like you. That takes time to sit there and do that. Like, bro, put on a t-shirt. They'll buy it. Like,
and you wonder why we wanted him in studio. Whenever he's in town, of course, as I said to you before, you have an open invitation. Love to have you live. We will stream you into if there's updates that you want to do to make sure that the bridge stays at the forefront and not necessarily an afterthought of all those that are out here able and willing to support these efforts that are much needed in the Harrisburg community. So with that, I'll give you the closing remarks. Again, of course, we want to know your website again, how to get in touch with you or those that are, going to be decision makers outside of you here with regards to moving this project forward. Mr. Garry Gilliam.
Yeah. So again, just everything you're going to need to find is right there on thebridge.com. Right. If you want to find other socials, scroll to the bottom, you can find them there. If you want to be a volunteer, click the volunteer tab. You can fill out the information there. If you'd like to contact us about something more specific, about expansion, about you committing some of your in-kind donations to our nonprofit in terms of expertise or education, whatever the case is, that's all at thebridge.com, the contact tab, the volunteer tab. And in terms of what I want to leave everybody with is have hope, right? Like life is suffering. I think Buddha said that life is suffering, right? And if you're not currently suffering, then you will be. And I think as long as we realize that and don't, look at the rainbows and the unicorns and the milk thistle, like, life is tough and like address it, but we can make it better when we work together, right? So have hope that there are people pushing for the betterment of humanity. As much as we get pounded with the negative things going on in the world, albeit there be a lot of them, there are good things going on. And if you are one of those people who want to continue to get involved in things like that, and you're on that vibration of true community restoration, then by all means, reach out to us.
And I can't let you end on that. You got to talk about your family. You got to talk about the young one. You got to talk about
1000%. Like, definitely shout out to Genesis and Jossie, my baby girls. Family's important, and like, as much as you want to reach self-actualization, right, and become the most that you can be, there are things beyond that, right? Figuring out a way to get others to be the best that they can be is extremely fulfilling. And then beyond that, figuring out a way to preserve our planet and make it so that the generations to come have the same knowledge and can pursue bigger and better things than we could have ever dreamed. That gets reinforced with family, right? To see, your daughter grow and learn, and every day the things you said to her the day before get reinforced, and she says things based off of what you're saying and doing, and like it just goes to show that if there are issues that you see out in our society, then they probably came from us, right? And I'll leave you with this, very simple: if you have a complaint, you have a career. Be about that action.
All right. You heard it here. And with that, we thank all of our viewers for joining us on today's various segments for Seat at the Table, hosted by yours truly. We'll see you again on Monday at 6 o'clock. Thank you for continuing to support. Shout out, of course, as always, to the control room. And we'll see you on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.